The story begins with me, Peter. I run a well-known software company, and my wife, Lisa, is a successful fashion designer. We're at one of her big fashion shows, and I can't help watching her with pride. I've always stood beside her, doing whatever I can to support her. That night, after the show, we go out for a quiet dinner. Something in her eyes tells me she has something on her mind. Then she suddenly asks me a strange question. If you ever left me, who would you go to? I laugh at first because it makes no sense to me. Leave you? Why would I? I don't care for anyone else, I tell her. But she asks again, more serious this time. Are you sure you've never met anyone you felt even a little drawn to? I look at her and tell her the truth. Since the day I married you, 25 years ago, I haven't looked at anyone that way. After that, she goes quiet. She doesn't ask anything else, but I can see something is troubling her. We finish the night peacefully, even warmly, but there's a heaviness in the air that I can't ignore. The next morning, I notice something is still off with Lisa. She moves around quietly, distant, almost avoiding my eyes. When I ask if anything is wrong, she simply shakes her head and says she has to travel to Italy for another fashion show. I want to ask more, but she gives me that calm smile that tells me she doesn't want to talk about it. A few days later, everything falls apart. I get the news that Lisa is gone. Just like that, my world collapses. She wasn't only my wife, she was the person I built my life around, the one I loved more than anything. Sometime after her passing, my daughter Abigail comes to me holding one of Lisa's red shoes. She says she found something inside it. When I check, I find a small folded note tucked deep inside. It's from Lisa. The message is short, only 2 words, Lake Como. I stand there, holding the note, feeling the weight of everything she didn't get to say. That night, I gather all of Lisa's things, her laptop, her phone, and the note she left behind. I don't understand any of this, but I know there has to be a reason. I need answers. While I'm sitting there, her phone suddenly makes a sound. It's a voicemail. From a man, and not just any kind of message. The tone is gentle, almost romantic. He says he misses Lisa. He says it has been months since he last saw her. He says he wants to see her again. My stomach drops. Who is this person? How does he know my wife? Why is he speaking to her like that? I start searching through her things. I open her laptop and look through her photos, hoping something will make sense. At first, everything seems normal. Then I find a folder named Love. It's locked with a password. I try a few guesses, but nothing works. I open another folder called London. Inside are photos of Lisa with her friends. One of them is a man named Ralph. I look closely at the pictures. Ralph seems a little too close to Lisa. That alone makes my stomach tighten. Then I check Lisa's email and find a message from Ralph. I miss you. I want our good times back. That is enough to upset me. I leave right away to speak to Ralph at Lisa's office. Why are you getting involved with my wife? I ask. He doesn't pretend he doesn't know her. Yes, I knew Lisa, he says. But it's not what you think. I don't know what to believe. Later, one of Lisa's friends tells me something surprising. Lisa had been seeing someone, but nobody knows who the man was. I go home confused and tired. I tell my daughter, Abigail, what I fear, but she reacts immediately. Don't talk about Mom like that, she says. I won't let anyone say unkind things about her. I realize I may not have known everything about my wife after all. Everyone noticed. The cheerful, energetic CEO they knew was gone. I barely spoke, my mind trapped in questions I couldn't escape. I needed help. Real help. I called in one of my top IT employees and quietly asked her to trace the mysterious email. She hesitated. That's illegal, she said. Desperation won. She agreed. Soon, another message arrived in Lisa's inbox. This one hit harder. I can't believe you're re-gone. I thought you were avoiding me. Don't let our story end like this. My chest went tight. This wasn't a fling. It was real. Lisa had been in a secret, serious relationship. One I never saw coming. A coworker tried to check on me. I didn't look up. You used to be a cop, right? Know where someone could buy a gun? He laughed nervously. The tension was thick. Then the IT expert returned. I found the location, she said quietly. Milan, Italy. Milan. That was where Lisa said she went for a fashion show. But now I knew the truth. She went there to meet him. I sat back at her laptop. The locked folder, Love, stared at me. I guessed every password. Nothing. Finally, I typed the word from her note, Lake Como. Click. The folder opened. And inside, disaster. That's all I could think. The folder was packed with hundreds of photos. Lisa with him, holding him, traveling, laughing. Some were far too intimate. This wasn't a fling. It was a long, hidden relationship. I felt sick. I couldn't breathe. That night, I booked a flight to Milan. I needed to find the man who had destroyed the life I thought I had. I waited near the building tied to the emails. Hours passed. Finally, I saw him leave. I followed from a distance, watched him greet a woman, kiss her, and walk toward a small cafe. Inside, he played chess with locals like nothing was wrong. I stepped back. I needed a plan. Back at the hotel, I went through the photos again. Every picture was punishment. Every smile, every touch reminded me my wife had betrayed me for 25 years. By morning, I was ready. I returned to the cafe, sat at his usual chess table, and waited. He arrived, paused, then said politely, "You need this table?" "No, go ahead," I replied. "Indian opening, huh? You know your chess. Mind if I join?" I studied him, then nodded. "Be my guest." The trap was set. We started playing chess, pretending to be strangers passing the time. I kept my voice calm. "So, what's your name?" I asked. "Ralph," he said. I froze for a moment. I asked, "Can you spell that?" He did, and my heart sank. The same name from the emails, the man in the photos. I forced myself to stay relaxed. Ralph talked easily about his Spanish mother, English father, moving around as a child, and settling in Milan. "You ever been to England?" I asked casually. "Of course. I met someone there, a woman in fashion." I clenched my teeth but stayed composed. "Oh, and her name?" He shrugged. "Don't remember, but she changed my life." I sat across from the man who had taken my wife's heart, and he had no idea who I really was. He kept opening up. Then he said it. They'd been involved for 12 years. 12 years. I nodded like nothing, but inside I was burning. He told me everything, how they met, how they connected, how their relationship grew. And I just listened, hearing my wife described like some unforgettable love story. The truth, she was my wife, my life, my family. Meanwhile, back home, Abigail started worrying. I'd been ignoring calls for days. She found Mom's old phone and pressed play on Ralph's voicemail. The voicemail plays, just one message. Lisa was cheating. Abigail is discovering it too. The next day, I meet Ralph again. I need to know everything. He doesn't hold back. Every trip, every memory, every little detail. He tells it all. I sit there, piece by piece, feeling myself break. At home, I'm not just stories to Lisa's photos. Every timeline fits. Every happy moment from Milan, it wasn't a fashion deal. It was him. During a chess game, I throw a sharp remark, "You're good at cheating." Ralph freezes, then smiles. "I don't cheat. That's not who I am," he says, thinking I mean the game. But I'm not talking about the game. Then his phone rings. The name flashes, Lisa. I freeze. She's gone, dead. Who could it be? It's Abigail. She called Ralph just to hear his voice, and now she knows the truth. Mom had been having an affair. I watch Ralph, desperate, talking to someone who isn't answering. For a moment, a small, cold satisfaction hits me, seeing him squirm. Later, we meet again. "She's the most incredible woman I've ever met," he says. My fists clench, teeth grind, but I stay calm. Then he adds something vile, about women like Lisa, needing to be tamed. I snap. I throw the chessboard across the cafe and storm out. Ralph thinks it's the game. He doesn't know the truth. Outside, Abigail finds me. She's come all the way to Milan to stop me from doing something I regret. Her words sting, but I can't deny it. I'm still obsessed with Lisa, trapped in her memory, trying to make sense of it all. I dragged Abigail back to the apartment and showed her everything, every photo, every message. I even read the emails out loud, despite her pleading. It was too much. She broke down, crying harder than I'd ever seen. "Let it go, Dad," she begged. "You can't change anything. Mom is gone." But I couldn't. My anger drowned everything else. I grabbed a hammer and marched to Ralph's building, hunting him down. Then came the twist. Ralph didn't live in a fancy apartment. He was the building's doorman. I thought I was after a playboy. Instead, he was a quiet man in a cheap uniform, with a shelf of old books. When he opened the door, he looked terrified, and he wasn't holding a weapon. He was holding a turtle. A small turtle. A gift for Lisa. I stared. The anger dimmed. I said nothing and walked away. Back at the hotel, Abigail was leaving, begging me to stop chasing ghosts. She left without me. And then, I did something twisted. I sent Ralph a fake message from Lisa's email. saying she'd meet him at their special place. Ralph called immediately, overjoyed. "I want you to come to dinner tonight," he said, trembling. "I want to introduce you to the love of my life." Before dinner, he took me to his tiny, empty apartment. He explained his financial struggles and how he needed a bit of money to make the night perfect for Lisa. I just listened, silent, staring at the man who had unknowingly turned my world upside down. I sat there, staring at this broke, naive man, the one my wife had cheated with. And yet, I gave him the money. "Go ahead," I said. "Live your dream." Ralph set up a romantic scene. New suit, haircut, candles, wine, and waited for Lisa. But it wasn't her who walked in. It was me. Calm. "Sorry, Ralph. Lisa's not coming. She's dead. And she was my wife." His heartbreak was real. "What? No. How?" he whispered. "Cancer," I said. "She didn't tell me either. You weren't special. She hid it from me too." I confessed. Every message he got from her, that was me, pretending, just to feel something after losing her. "She refused treatment," I said. "Not bravery. She didn't want to look ugly. That was Lisa. She wanted to leave the world as she liked," Ralph said softly. I snapped. "Selfish. She left her daughter, left me, and cheated the whole time." "She lived life her way," he replied. "She chose what made her happy." I burned inside. "What about our future? Our family?" Silence. Heavy, awful silence. Then I remembered a small moment from her last days. I had asked her to write the place she was happiest. I would write mine too. If they matched, we'd know. She never wrote anything. Even at the edge of death, she kept her secrets. I broke down. All I ever wanted were answers, some proof that our life meant something. Instead, I was left with silence. Ralph sat quietly beside me and said softly, "What we had, it was real too." I stared at him, unsure what to say. But somehow, that was enough. Even if it wasn't the kind of peace I wanted, it was real. Then, just when I thought I understood it all, Ralph dropped one final truth. Lisa had loved him, truly and deeply. She knew my struggles. She knew how shattered I stood there. The woman I thought I knew, the woman who had been by my side for 25 years, had a whole other life, and in that life, she gave her heart to someone else. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just walked away. I left Italy, returned to England, and collapsed on my bed. And then I heard it. Her voice. Lisa's voice. Soft, like a ghost in my mind, telling me to let go, to move on, to finally say goodbye. And I did. I arranged a memorial for Lisa. Something small, elegant, and beautiful. And yes, I invited Ralph. He came, nervous, quiet. When it was his turn to speak, he delivered a heartfelt, poetic tribute. It wasn't just about love. It was about loss, about memory, about the pain of knowing someone so deeply and still never fully having them. I sat there, holding myself together by a thread, feeling the weight of everything: love, betrayal, grief, and the fragile beauty of what had been. And for the first time, I let myself feel it all, and let it go. I paused, thinking, why did I invite this man? Why am I putting myself through this? Then it was my turn. I stood up, looked at the crowd, looked at Ralph. I was ready to expose everything. Ready to tell the whole room that Lisa had been unfaithful, that this man, Ralph, had showed a life with my wife for 12 years. But then I looked at Abigail. One glance was enough. "Don't," her eyes said. No words, just that look. I stopped, took a deep breath, and instead of shaming the dead, I honored her. I raised a toast to Abigail, my daughter, the only thing I truly still had. Because Lisa was gone. Later, we sat together in a quiet cafe. The air was heavy, the silence almost loud. I told her softly, I understand now what Lisa had with Ralph. And then I said the thing no father ever wants to admit. It hurts. To know she was with me for 25 years, and 12 of them, she was loving someone else. Abigail, wise beyond her years, looked at me and said, "Maybe she loved you both, Dad. Maybe that's why she never left either of you." I just nodded, quietly. Then I looked at her and said, "You know what scares me now, Abigail? That one day you'll understand that kind of heartbreak." And with that, I let it go. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay connected with us.